welcome everybody. This is Wargamer Sean. I'm here today to give you Craftworld Eldar. It's been a long time coming. Sorry I haven't gotten it sooner. I usually would be able to get my Codex on Friday and start doing videos, but there was a problem and I didn't get them until Saturday. And then this weekend I had one of my kids had a birthday and the birthday parties, and so I'm just getting into them now. So it's, well, pretty late. About 9, after 9 o'clock Central Time for me, so I'm probably behind the 8 ball here, but I'm still going to do it because after Harlequins, this was my first army I ever collected, and so I'm very excited to be doing a Codex review on them. I know there's a lot of hate going on about the Eldar right now. You know, I guess I ask anybody that's looking at this if, you know, the reason you're watching it is to, you know, hate the Eldar and want to negatively comment on them, please don't. Or, you know, maybe stop watching the video and watch another one. I really want to do a Codex review on each Codex that I do and go through things in a positive way. So hopefully we can keep it positive. If not, I guess we can't. But hopefully we will. I'm going to start out. This is a big Codex. It was a little bit pricier than some of the other ones, and it's been less than a couple years that Eldar came out. But I think there was a couple reasons to do it. One, they kind of wanted to get the Harlequins out of this Codex because they had taken it out of Dark Eldar. And I also think they wanted to kind of change the Wave Serpent to make it less powerful than it was, because I think they saw, you know, maybe that they saw what was going on with the tournament scene. Who knows? I can't know GW's mind. But because of this change, there's been a lot of scare and hype. At the end, when I go over my final discussions, I'm going to talk about, you know, good things about this Codex, but also things that, you know, I think can be used to help play if you're playing against the Codex too. So, you know, the sky isn't falling, people. You know, let's give it a little time here. Will it change the meta? Yeah, I think it may. I think it may change what you bring. I think it may change what you do, but slightly, I think. You know, the people are talking about D weapons, and I think D weapons, you know, it's not really scary to an MSU, meaning that means is multiple small units, and a lot of people with Maelstrom missions have kind of gone to multiple small units because if you lose a unit that's small, it's not such a big deal versus running a huge, you know, force or squad. And so you can have multiple of these little small squads and capture objectives and accomplish your mission, which, you know, is, I think, a lot of fun. I've actually had I didn't at first like Maelstrom missions, and I do think they kind of have to be modified from the original cards, or you have to have potentially, and I'm not for comp at all, but I mean, for the cards, I think it's a little unfair to just use the cards as is. So what I've seen people do, Adepticon, they had their own deck of cards. I've seen Good, Bad, and the Ugly, they had a sheet, and you picked like 2 of them to go for every turn, and if you didn't get them, that was the only time you could score them, is once you picked them, they were gone, so you could either score them that round or not. But it was fair because you picked when you would go for things, so you knew what objectives you were going for. I ran a tournament recently where I had 3 charts, and you roll a d6 on each of them, and then you pick 2. So even though some of it was random, you still had a choice on what you're going for, which I think made it a little bit more fair instead of the randomness of the cards. But regardless, I think Maelstrom helps keep very powerful, big Death Star units a little less powerful, but it does support MSU or multiple small units. But I think as someone that's writing a tournament can still do other missions that aren't Maelstrom based, to kind of take or to make MSU, you know, not so powerful in that game. So anyway, what I'm saying is I think D is really more damaging potentially to vehicles or super heavies. But when you think about it, if you think about the the last couple books, I mean, you look at well, Grav and Grav Centurions, they rolled a 6 and they still did a glancing hit no matter what. And so Grav Centurions, just weight of fire could take a super heavy down. And to a gargantuan creature, they hurt it just like as easily as a regular monstrous creature. So let's even take the Wraith Knight, for example, which is a 3-up save. A Grav gun is going to wound it on a 3, no matter what its toughness is, doesn't matter. So, I think there's still things to take it down, and so I think taking some of the super heavies, there's things you have to kind of think twice about. The other thing is people are saying, oh, the D is going to destroy vehicles, but look at Necrons, and anything that roll a 6 it glances, and anything that's, even a high toughness, it still does a wound on a 6. So I think, Necrons were starting to kind of have that where, gosh, it can hurt anything on the field, and almost everything has gauze if you take it that way, and so pretty much everything in an army can hurt a super heavy, in shooting, not necessarily close combat. But I kind of got off topic there, but let's go through the main kind of detachment that's now in the Codex. And it's called the Craftworld War Host. And ever since Codex Necrons, I think we're seeing a pattern where we're getting these detachments, which I think are kind of cool. I'm glad they didn't just do it for Necrons. They've done it for Demonkin, and now they're doing it for Eldar, which I think is cool, is you have like a core that you have to take. Now, in this case, it's a possibility of 3 different cores. And most of these things are also formations you can take separately if you wanted to. Now, there's some things that aren't a formation. Now, I think that's an important choice because some people are complaining, oh, I can just take a formation that gets a Wraith construct, a Wraith Knight. Well, if you look at it, they're called auxiliary choices, and then there's a core choice. Now, it just so happens later in the book that these core choices are also formations, but they're specifically set as formation, and there's nowhere in this book that has a formation that's called Wraith Construct. So you can't just take a Wraith Knight in any... the only way you can just take a Wraith Knight is doing the Craftworld War Host. You can't just... or a CAD for Eldar, but you can't just take any army and go, I'm going to run a formation that's a Wraith Knight. It doesn't work that way. It's the same... there's the same restrictions in Necron and Demonkin. They had the same things where they had things that you could take, like for the Blood Slaughter, the big, tracked super heavy of corn that you could take in the Dicurian detachment, or the Demonkin main detachment. But if you didn't take it, then it was a Lord of War, and you could just take one in the CAD. So, same thing here. So for the core, you can take one of 3 things. You can take a Guardian Battle Host, which is 1 Farseer, 3 units of Guardian Defenders, 1 Viper Squad, 1 unit of Warwalkers, 1 Val's Wrath Battery Support, and 0-1 Warlock Conclave. So that's one thing you can take to fill your core. And you can take 1 to 3 of these. So you could take all 3 if you wanted to. I don't think most people are going to. The next one is the Wind Rider Host, which is 1 Farseer, 1 Warlock Conclave, and 3 units of Wind Riders and 1 Viper Squadron. I think this is the one that most people are going to be taking because it's the easiest to fill, that doesn't really have a lot of things that may not be as useful or that you may want. The Guardian Storm Host, which is 1 Farseer, 3 units of Storm Guardians, 1 Viper Squadron, 1 Warwalker Squadron, 1 unit of Val's Wrath battery support batteries, and 0-1 Warlock Conclave. So it's the same as a Guardian Battle Host, but instead of Guardian Defenders, you're using Storm Guardians. That's those. And then you can take 0 to 3 per Guardian Host. So basically, if you took all 3 Guardian Hosts, you could take 9 of these basically command things. But I don't think you're usually going to be taking the 3 Guardian Hosts, and if you do, you're going to be using up most of your points anyway. And you still have to take at least 1 to 12 auxiliary too, so you have to keep that in mind. So the command ones, the first one is Heroes of the Craftworlds, and that's 1 Otark or Prince Iriel or Eldrad Uthran or Illic Nightspear. So that's one choice. The next one is a Seer Council, which is 2 Farseers. 1 Farseer may be replaced by Eldrad Uthran, and then a Warlock Conclave. And then the third one is Living Legends, which is you can choose an Avatar, Azurmen, Janezar, Karandras, Fugan, Barath, or Mugen Ra, which is basically any of the Phoenix Lords and the Avatar of Khaine. I was kind of hoping that they would add more of the Phoenix Lords, but they haven't. I keep hoping every codex they're going to add more, but I just don't see them doing it because I don't think they're, they make the Phoenix Lords very expensive, so I think they're not selling as much, and so I don't think there's really much push to have more of them. And the models that they have of the Phoenix Lords are pretty old. They haven't updated them, and I think they made them into fine cast, but they're the original ones since they came out in like 2nd edition. So that's the commands. Now you've got 1 to 12 of the per Guardian host. So once again, if you took 3 Guardian hosts, you potentially could take 36 of these auxiliaries. Once again, that would be a huge army, and you're not going to see it. But one of the choices is Outcast, which is a unit of Rangers. And then one is Wraith Constructs, which is either 1 Hemlock Wraith Fighter, 1 Wraith Lord, or Wraith Knight. The other one is the Engines of Vol, which is 1 unit of Night Spinners, 1 unit of Fire Prisms, or 1 unit of Falcons. So those 3 are just as they are, and they're not formations that we see later on in the book. The Guardian hosts and the commands are all... they're the Seer Council, just the Seer Council, and the Guardian hosts are also formations. Now the rest of these are also going to be formations later in the book. So the Crimson Death is 3 Crimson Hunters, which is pretty cool. The Dire Avenger Shrine is 3 units of Dire Avengers. And then the Wraith Host is 1 Spirit Seer, 3 units of Wraith Guard or Wraith Blades in any combination. 1 Wraith Lord, 1 Wraith Knight. Then there's the Aspect Host, which is 3 units of any of the Aspect Warriors. So basically Dire Avengers, Howling Banshees, Striking Scorpions, Fire Dragons, Swooping Hawks, Dark Reapers, Warp Spiders, or Shining Spears in any combination. So however you want to do it. So that's all of the things that make up the Craftworld Warhost detachment. If you do this detachment, what do you get for bonuses? Well, if you use a unit composed entirely of models from this detachment, when you run, you don't roll a d6, but you automatically get 6 inches. So basically your run is going to be 6 inches, which is nice. If you're running a lot of jet bikes or vehicles, it's probably not going to really help you that much. But it's useful. Out of all of the like Dicurian and the Demonkin and this one so far, so there's only been 3. I would say this one is probably the least powerful of the 3 because the Dicurian gives +1 to reanimation and Relentless, which is awesome. It's really awesome because they have so much rapid fire. Demonkin, it gives you +1 blood tithe point at the start of your turn every time. So you just get an automatic blood tithe point. That's awesome too because you rely on blood tithe points for the most part for that army. This one with a 6-inch run, I can see a lot of these things that really aren't necessarily going to benefit from that. So it's okay, but it's not great. The other thing is that they don't put in here, so I'd imagine you don't get it, is that you don't get to re-roll on the Warlord chart for the Eldar. Now, I'll check into the other formations, and maybe it says if you make one of them your Warlord in here, that it does get to re-roll it. I don't know. So let's go check it out right now. So that's that. Let's go check out the formations quick, because that's what I said we were going to do. Beep. Okay, so the Guardian Battle Host, and that's the one that's the Farseer and the 3 Guardian Defenders, and then the Viper Squadron, a unit of Warwalkers, Vols, Support Battery, and 0-1 Warlock Conclaves. This one, the Guardian Defenders from this formation can take a heavy weapons platform at no point cost instead of the point cost listed on the day sheet, which is kind of nice. So your 3 Guardian Defender squads can each have 1 weapon for no points, which you're probably going to pick the most expensive. Although I think the most expensive is the Eldar Missile Launcher, which honestly I think you're just going to go with the Bright Lance or something else. But maybe the Missile Launcher. Now, if you go up to 20 Guardians, you can have another heavy weapons platform, but you'll have to pay for that one. But you have to take 3 Guardian Defenders anyway, so you're probably not going to make them all 20. So at least 3 of them, you're getting free weapon upgrade, which is it's a thing. It's a big deal. Now, the other special rule is Vol's Might. Vipers, Warwalkers, and Vol's Wrath support battery from this formation gain preferred enemy special rule when shooting at a unit that is within 12 inches of a unit of Guardian Defenders from this formation. That's big. Preferred enemy is always nice. You get to reroll 1s to hit and to wound. That's nice. Now, they have to be within 12 inches. The enemy that you're shooting at has to be within 12 inches of the Guardian Defenders. So, I mean, I think it's a good rule. There's nothing mentioned here that you get to reroll for Warlord trait. So, once again, I don't know why they don't have that, because yeah, the other 2 did, which is weird, but for Daemonkin and Necrons. Let's go to the Guardian Stormhost next. So that's basically the same thing, except you have 3 Storm Guardians instead of Defenders. Now this one, up to 2 Guardians in each Storm Guardian unit in this formation may exchange of close combat weapons for Shuriken pistols for either Flamers and Fusion Guns for no point cost. So you're getting the special weapons for free. But here's the other cool thing. Instead of the points cost listed in the detachment, in addition, up to 2 other Guardians in each of these units may exchange of close combat weapons for the Power Swords for no points instead of the points listed in the day sheet. Now, well, we'll get to it when we get to the unit, but the power weapons, the Power Swords, are 15 points each. And most of the time, if you're just taking that unit for a Troops Choice and a CAD, you're not going to pay 15 points for the Power Swords. But if you're getting them free, man, I'm going to take them, because the Guardian Defenders want to get up close and personal, and having 2 Power Swords in a squad, you can bury them in there. You know, AP3, that's a thing, that's good. Now, the close support thing, so Vipers, Warwalkers, and Vol's Wrath support battery from this formation get preferred enemy if they're shooting at a unit within 12 inches of the Storm Guardians from this formation. So this is the same thing as the Guardian Battle Host, so the Storm Host is doing the same rule for the vehicles and stuff in there. So that's cool. I think, you know, both units are kind of giving a boost, giving some free stuff to the units in there. It's kind of a little incentive to taking them. Once again, I don't think they're going to be the most popular unit, but they will be taken. The Wind Rider host is 1 Farseer, 1 Warlock Conclave, 3 units of Wind Riders, and 1 Viper Squadron. Now, it says in here the Farseer must be upgraded to a Farseer Skyrider, which just means the one on a jet bike. And all models in the Warlock Conclave must be upgraded to the Warlock Skyrunners, which is also the jet bike one. So, that's not really a big a deal, because if you're running a bunch of bikes, you probably want those guys on bikes too. So, honestly, it's fine. Once per game, as long as a Farseer from this formation has not been removed as a casualty, the Eldar player can declare a Tempest of Blades at the start of the shooting phase. All Shuriken weapons in this formation gain the Shred special rule until the end of the phase. So that means that most of your Shuriken weapons are going to be twin-linked on the, well, not the cannon, but the Shuriken catapults. But when you roll the wound, normally it's toughness 4 things or 3s, so you're going to need 3s or 4s. Now you get to re-roll to wound because of the Shred, which is good. Now, it's only the Shuriken weapons, which is something to keep in mind, because there's a new rule or new thing with the bikes, that you can take scatter lasers instead, and this rule would not apply to the scatter lasers. So, something to think about. Let's do the Seer Council formation. Now this one is 2 Farseers and 1 Warlock Conclave. Now, one Farseer may be replaced by Eldrad Uthran. Now, if you do that, you can't upgrade any of them to bikes because they have to all be the same. But if you don't take Eldrad, you can put all of them on bikes. If you put one on bikes, they all have to be on bikes. The Warlock Conclave must include 5 models, so you have to have 5 Warlocks at least. And if a Farseer or Warlock in this formation upgrades to be a Farseer Skyrunner, the Warlock Skyrunner, all other models must do it. So both Farseers must join the Warlock Conclave before deployment and cannot leave the unit. So they're basically forming one unit. In this formation, if this formation is chosen as your primary detachment, you can re-roll the result when rolling on the Warlord Traits table in Codex Craftworlds. So this one allows you to re-roll on the Warlord table. So they're kind of wanting you to take this one as your Warlord. When the models from this formation make a psychic test, results of a 3 or more will harness a warp charge point instead of 4. So they're basically getting a warp charge off on a 3 versus a 4. Now that's just the Seer Council. It's not everybody in this detachment. It's just the Seer Council. But that's pretty big because there's a lot of psychic power here. So that's a pretty good rule for them. Now the Aspect Host, which is all the Aspect Warriors. These guys have a special rule, or special rule too. Now their restrictions is that all 3 Aspect squads that you take, you have to include an Exarch for each of the squads. So they have to have an Exarch in there. You're going to pay for it. And we'll talk about Exarchs later, but they're not really so bad in this one, and they actually give you some more benefits than last edition. So Rites of Battle, immediately after determining Warlord Traits, choose either weapon skill or ballistic skill. All units from this formation had +1 to their chosen characteristics. So you have to choose. So if you're going to do an Aspect Host, if you're going to go close combat, you probably don't want close combat and a ranged guy, because you want to make it all the same. So if you're going to do all ranged, you're going to pick +1 to ballistic skill. If you're going to go close combat, you're probably going to pick +1 to weapon skill because you want to be better in close combat. So it's a pretty big boost. Models from this formation can re-roll failed morale, pinning, and fear tests. So they get that on top of it, which is amazing. I mean, it's great. The Dire Avenger Shrine, which is 3 units of Dire Avengers. Now this one, the restriction is only 1 unit in this formation can take an Exarch. The other can't. So the other 2 cannot take an Exarch. The one has to. And this one, once per game in the shooting phase, this formation can perform a killing strike. For the duration of that phase, all shuriken catapults carried by models in this formation are Assault 3 instead of Assault 2. That's pretty cool. All models in this formation add +1 to their ballistic skill, and that's all the time. And models in this formation re-roll failed morale, pinning, or fear checks, just like the Aspect Host. So it's basically kind of like the Aspect Host, which of course you're going to choose +1 ballistic skill for Dire Avengers, because that's what they're good at shooting. But once per game you get to do Assault 3 instead of Assault 2, which is nice. So the Dire Avenger Shrine is good. I think people will take that one. And then Crimson Death is 3 Crimson Hunters. 1 Crimson Hunter must be upgraded to an Exarch. So you have to upgrade 1 Crimson Hunter to an Exarch, but it doesn't say that you can't upgrade the other ones. So you could have all of them be Exarchs if you wanted to. It's 20 points, but their bliss skill becomes 5, so it may be worth it. So the special rules. This Crimson Death, they basically all have preferred enemy, flyers, and flying monstrous creatures. That's pretty cool. Evasive maneuvers. All models in this formation have a 4+ cover save. And that's just regular, without jinking. If the model in this formation chooses to jink, it can re-roll its failed cover saves until the start of its next turn. So that's even bigger. That's helping out a lot. And there's some things like a Sicaran battle tank or even Dark Reapers with their rangefinders that ignore Jink. But this has a 4+ cover save. So that's not really a Jink. So they still get that 4+ cover save. Pretty cool. The Wraith Host, 1 Spirit Seer, 3 units of Wraith Guard or Wraith Blades in any combination, 1 Wraith Lord, 1 Wraith Knight. There's no restrictions. They get battle focus. Now normally the Wraith don't get battle focus, so they're getting battle focus out of this. It's almost like I think it's kind of making up for the Iyanden book, because one of the spells, or sorry, the psychic powers that the Spirit Seer had, the main one that they had to take as a Primaris was one that gave them battle focus and Furious Charge and all this other stuff. So it gives this unit battle focus, which is nice. Wraith Guard, Wraith Blades, Wraith Lords, and Wraith Knights from this formation can reroll failed to hit rolls against enemy units that are within 18 inches of the Spirit Seer from this formation. So that's big. So most of them, well, they're all Ballistic Skill 4. And if you get to reroll failed to hit, that is like, it's like twin linking everybody. That's really awesome. And he has to be within 18 inches of the unit they're shooting at. It doesn't mean he has to be on the table. What do I mean by that is he could be in a vehicle. You could have him in a Wave Serpent and still be within 18 inches, so he could still be protected and still gain that reroll to hit, which is pretty good. So that's all of the formations that are in this codex. I'm going to go through the special rules quick and the Warlord Traits table, and then we're going to stop and we'll do a second video where we'll start going through the HQ section. So the Army special rules, they have Ancient Doom, which is the same as last time. They have Hatred with demons or of Slaanesh, or models with the mark of Slaanesh, so both. Furthermore, when they're taking fear tests, a unit containing at least 1 model with this special rule suffers a -1 penalty to its leadership if it's engaged in combat with a unit that contains at least 1 model with the mark of Slaanesh or the demon of Slaanesh special rule. So it hurts you and helps you. So basically you're scared shitless of Slaanesh, but you still hate them. It makes sense. I kind of like this. It's a little fluff that I'm glad that it's still kept in there. Battle focus. A unit composed entirely of models with battle focus can either shoot and then run, or run and then shoot in the same shooting phase. The unit must complete both actions before you move on to the next unit, otherwise a chance to make the second action is forfeit. And I think that's a problem that I noticed even in Adepticon when I was playing against people, they weren't good about doing that action, and they try to come back to it, which I was easygoing, so I'd let people do it. But I mean, you got to get good at remembering when you do something. You shoot and then move, or move and then shoot. You got to get used to that with a battle focus. A model cannot run if it fired a heavy weapon during the same shooting phase, unless it's relentless. Similarly, a model that has run cannot fire a heavy weapon in the same shooting phase unless it has a relentless special rule. Models that cannot run gain no benefit from battle focus special rule. And there is a unit in here that has that, but I don't think they got battle focus anyway. So when generating Warlord traits, you can use the book traits, or you can use the Eldar ones. And they're actually better than they were the last time. Last time they were pretty lackluster. There's a few that aren't so great if you're running a lot of bikes. But once again, hopefully you get to reroll it. So Ambush of Blades. It's one use only. You declare your Warlord is using this ability at the start of one of your shooting or assault phases. The duration of the phase, the Warlord and all friendly units with the Eldar faction within 12 inches of him reroll to wound rolls of 1. So it's kind of like a to wound preferred enemy for shooting or assault. Eye on distance events. Choose up to D3 units in your army. These units gain the Scout special rule. So that's cool. Falcon Swiftness. The Warlord and his unit add 3 to the dice roll when determining how far they can run. So this will normally be d6 plus 3 d6 plus 3 inches. If you're running the main war host detachment that we just talked about, then you get to automatically run 6 inches plus 3, so you get a 9-inch run. That's pretty big. Fate's Messenger. The Warlord rerolls all saving throws of 1. It's okay. Mark of Incomparable Hunter. The Warlord has a split fire special rule. It's good if you have somebody that has a good weapon. If you're, most of the time it's probably going to be a Farseer. It's not necessarily going to help that much. Singing Spear, it may, but you have to be close for that. It may or may not be helpful. Seer of Shifting Vector. Friendly units from Eldar faction arriving by deep strike do not scatter as long as the first models are placed within 12 inches of the Warlord. That's a pretty good one, especially if you're going to deep strike stuff. So that's the Warlord trait table. And I'm going to stop here. Actually, and I lied to you, I'm not, because I'm actually going to go through the Remnants of Glory quick. I apologize, but no one else will cover them. So, Kurnos' bow, Kurnos' bow, I can learn how to speak, is a weapon you can take that's a Remnants of Glory. It's a range 12 inches, strength 4, AP 3, pistol that's rending. So basically, it's a shuriken pistol that is AP 3 automatically, so it's going to go through most armor, and it does rend, which is similar to Bladestorm. So it's okay. I'm going to see. I apologize. I'm shifting here quick. I'm going to see how much it is. Kurnos' bow is 10 points. Man, that's kind of expensive. I don't know if I'd take that. I mean, for rending, I mean, the pistol automatically does that. Yeah, potentially your AP3, I don't know. I don't think it's worth 10 points, to be honest. Now, you can only take 1 per army, but this one does not say that you can't take more than 1. So potentially you could take more than 1 thing if your guy has more than 1 weapon to trade out for some of these things. The next one is a Shard of Anaris. We're familiar with that one. It's the same rules as before. It gives +2 strength. It's melee, rending, and Vol's work. So the bearer is in a chart is fearless. Sorry, the bearer is fearless, and the unit he's with, obviously. And in a challenge, attacks made with this weapon have Fleshbane and have instant death special roll. So it's the same as last edition. It's a great weapon. It's 40 points, and I apologize. And I happen to have the book right here. I'm going to check how much it was last time. I don't remember right off the top of my head how much that was. It was 40 points last time. So it's the same cost, and you know what? It was good. I used that a lot last edition. It was good. Although I didn't use it as much as I used the Mantle of the Laughing God, but that's gone, which we all pretty much expected because Harlequins have their own codex now. You pretty much knew that was going to be gone. So Shard of Anaris is still as good as it was. Alden Arathi long rifle, which was in the last codex, and I believe it does the same thing. I'm going to check the cost of it quick because I think it's the same, but let me check. I don't want to be mistaken here. 25 points, and it was 25 points last edition, so it didn't change. Strength X, it's 120-inch range, heavy 1 sniper. So basically you need a 4+ and you'll wound, and it's 120-inch range, AP 3. It's a decent sniper of 25 points, but it's not bad if you want to have somebody, like if you want to put it on your Warlord who's just going to camp in the back and try to be safe, maybe an Otark or something, and put him with some Rangers. It's not a bad rifle. 25 points, kind of expensive, but it's long range. I don't know. I don't know if I'd do it. I didn't use it at all last edition, to be honest with you. I don't know if I'll use it this one. Fellshoe's Wing. This one, if in the running phase, it can move 48 inches, and it can run up to 48 inches in the shooting phase, provided it did not manifest any psychic powers or shoot this turn. If it does so, it cannot shoot or charge for the remainder of the turn. However, the model can reroll failed cover saves until the start of the next turn. Now, this is similar to last time, although last time it didn't say you couldn't do psychic powers. It just said you could if you didn't shoot. So it's nerfing it a little bit more, in my opinion. It's 30 points. It was 30 points last edition. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I tried it a couple times, I'll be honest with you, and I used it on a Farseer, and I used him to cast psychic powers, and I just had him run into a place that he got cover, and he could reroll his cover save. So it was nice, and I'd do psychic powers each turn. Now this is 6th edition. I haven't run them since 7th edition started, because I haven't really run Farseers, to be honest with you, since 7th edition for Eldar, because it's so... Excuse me, my hair is... I just messed my hair up a little bad. Because honestly, it was harder to get... I wasn't running Seer Councils, and it was harder to get psychic powers off, so I was using a lot of Otarks to give plus or minus 1 to help, but I was running Eldar, or Dark Eldar a lot with it, and I refused to conjure up demons with Eldar because I think that was completely against their fluff, but some people were doing it, and I fought a lot of people at Adepticon that were doing it, but I'm glad as heck that they took it out of this edition of the Codex. Now you can only do psychic powers that are sanctic instead of malefic, because I just think that was totally... I mean, they would never do that, and if any Eldar did that, any Farseer, if the Craftworld didn't kick them out because they didn't want demons coming up in their Craftworld, the Harlequins would come visit them and they'd be dead anyway. They'd get a kiss to the back or something. My opinion. Fire Saber is the next one. And I think... No, that wasn't this one. I was 30 points in the last one. 30 points in this one. Same price. It's +1 strength, AP 3, melee, Soul Blaze, Wildfire. Now, the Wildfire, it causes Soul Blaze. If you inflict 1 or more unsaved wounds, roll a d6 for every unit, friend or foe, excluding the bearer's unit, within 6 inches of the unit that suffered a wound. On a roll of 4+, they're set ablaze. I don't know. I honestly don't see the use of this one that much. And for 30 points, I'd rather spend 10 more points and have Shard of Anaris, which is a lot better. That's what I would do. That's my opinion. I didn't actually use it last edition either. Phoenix Gem, 1 use only. Immediately before the bearer of the Phoenix Gem is removed as a casualty, roll a d6. On a score of 1, the model is removed as a casualty as normal. On a score of a 2 through 6, center a large blast marker over the model. Each unit, friend or foe, suffers a number of strength 4 AP 5 hits equal to the number of models from their unit that's basically under the blast. Or no, it's just equal to the number of models from their unit, excluding the bearer, that are at least partially under the template. Oh, so it is the ones that are under the template. If at least 1 unsaved wound is caused, the bearer is not removed as a casualty, but it remains in play with a single wound remaining. If no unsaved wounds are caused, remove the model as a casualty. So basically, it's kind of a way to try to bring him back when he dies. I've never used this one either, to be honest with you. It's 25 points, and there's 24 points last time. I don't have a lot of experience with it because I honestly never used it. Every time, the next one is the Spirit Stone of Anethlan. Every time the bearer of the Spirit Stone of Anethlan attempts to manifest a psychic power, he can choose to reduce the warp charge cost by 1 to a minimum of 1. If he does so, he cannot use his rune armor's invulnerable save until the start of his next turn. This one it's 15 points this time, and it was 15 points last time. So same cost. I did not use it last time. I know in last edition, I know people that did use it. The risk is that I always wanted to make sure I had an invuln save on my Farseers that I was going to take this on. I see the risk of it. I'm a little bit more cautious, and I'm a little bit more nervous about not having his save. Now, if he's on a bike, he's at least got a 3+ save, and you can always look out, sir. But I've just never. I guess I'm gutsy on some things. I just haven't been gutsy on that one. I think though in this edition I actually might try it. Reason being is one, with the Seer Council now, where you have to take 2 Farseers and a Warlock Council. I might actually do it on, especially even if the Warlord's in that council, I might put it on the other Farseer and it won't matter so much. Or I'll put it on the Farseer that is a Warlord and try to hide him in the back and not have him take a hit, and rely on everybody else's save, especially if they have you just don't know. That's the problem. You can't buy your psychic powers anymore like you could in 5th and earlier. So once 6th edition came around, you had to start rolling on the table, so you don't know if you're going to get fortune. The nice thing about potentially using this one is a lot of the Farseer powers are pricey. They're 2 points or more, maybe 3 or 4, depending on the power. And so it may be worth using that to reduce the power of the warp charge points for it. So I'm a little bit more inclined to try it this time. To be honest with you, because last time they were all 1 or 2, and this time they're more than that. So I think it might be worth trying this time. Shoot, I'm at 41 minutes, so I've got a little long here. I apologize. The rest of these videos will not be as long, I promise you. But I think this way we kind of covered a lot of things, and it'll leave it for the end to have a little bit more discussion roundtable about everything. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. There are more coming. There's going to be one for each section. HQ, troops, elites, fast attack, and heavy. I'll probably do heavy and Lord of War together. And then we'll do a final one. I may do the final one with Lord of War. I'm not sure. But hopefully you're enjoying this. Hopefully you have tuned in, and stay tuned. And I will be back at you, and keep on wargaming.
Goodbye. 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 Bye-bye. Goodbye. See ya. Bye for now. Bye for now. Goodbye. I like bottoms.